Welcome, everybody. All right. Welcome, everyone that's currently waiting. We've just got a few more joining us, so bear with us and we'll give them a couple more minutes and then we'll start the Kimberley webinar. Okay, we might just get started seeing you all here, and then if there's a few more joining late, that's fine. So welcome everybody that's currently live in our webinar. My name is Gabby and I'm from the sales team based at our head office here in Cairns. So thanks for taking the time to join us today and learn all about the Kimberley and the fascinating part of the world that it is. And I've also got a special guest, Ian Morris, who you should be able to see on your screen, who's going to be joining us shortly as well. And I'll introduce you over to Ian. But today's focus, it's taking you on a journey with Coral Expeditions, and we're going to give you an insight on how to explore the Kimberley's vast and rugged coastline, the Australian way, and with the Kimberley experts. So for those of you that are new to Coral Expeditions, we have actually operated for 40 years. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, which is exciting. And we've always operated with a single purpose, which is to take small groups of like-minded explorers to remote places with expert guides like Ian and warm Australian hospitality. All right, so now I'd like to introduce you to our very special guest, the very talented Ian Morris, who's joining us live from Darwin today. He's one of our fantastic guest lecturers. He has been working with Coral Expeditions for a very long time. So Ian will be co-hosting the webinar with me today. And this photo, Ian, it was only of you yesterday, wasn't it?
That'd be right.
So over to you, Ian. I'll let you give a bit of an intro about yourself.
Right, well, that photo goes way back into the midst of time, unfortunately, when I was young. Things have changed, but I spent a good part of my life working as a science teacher in Indigenous communities in the Arnhem Land region up there. And those boys that are around me there are all old white-haired men now, so that photo's pretty historic. But yes, I really enjoy passing on my experiences that I gained when I was young, living in Indigenous communities and working with both the traditionally born adults and the modern kids. And today we pass it on in all sorts of interesting ways through Coral.
Great. Thanks, Ian. So to begin our Kimberley journey today, I'm going to give everyone a sneak peek at what you can expect from one of our experienced expeditions in the remote wilderness of the Kimberley. And please note, if you have joined in late, we are recording today's webinar, so you can catch up on anything that you've missed. And also, if you do have any issues with the videos throughout today's webinar, you can watch them once we send the recorded version to you in a few days' time. So enjoy. That's just a little sneak peek at what you can experience on our 10-night Kimberley cruise. But from this video, you can really see why the Kimberley, it's such a bucket list, trip of a lifetime experience that's going to leave you with some pretty spectacular memories that you're going to have forever. So Coral Expeditions, we've now been visiting the Kimberley for 30 consecutive years this year. So in the 90s, we completed our first Kimberley voyage as a first ever expedition cruise operator to explore the region. So being one of the original Australian flagged expedition pioneers, this has really allowed us to curate the perfect expedition cruise the Kimberley has to offer. So September this year wrapped up our Kimberley season, and we had a total of 52 departures, and we actually hosted over 4,000 passengers, which is incredible. So we are really proud to announce that we achieved an excellent overall satisfaction rating with a 5 out of 5 star rating we received from 96% of guest feedback. And all our vessels, they are Australian flagged, which means we spend more time in the Kimberley focusing on the destination, as we don't need to spend your valuable time travelling out into the international waters like many of the foreign lines do. But our vessels are operated as well with Australian and New Zealand crew, and you will get to experience the ultimate warm Australian hospitality throughout your voyage, that's for sure. So whether this might be enjoying an ice cold beer or a glass of wine on Veranda Beach with sand in between your toes watching the sun go down, like this image you can see on the screen, or it might be on board our vessels where we encourage a natural Australian style service and always an open interaction between our guests and our crew. It's one where you can watch your dinner being prepared with local ingredients by our chefs. We actually have an open galley policy if you want to check out your dinner being cooked up. Or you might even like to go up into the bridge, which is a big favourite with a lot of guests. Have a chat and your morning coffee with the captain. We have an open bridge policy. Or you might just simply like to sit back and relax, read a book, and take in all those beautiful views in one of our outdoor alfresco areas around the ships. So we are all inclusive as well. Once you are on board, you just unpack once and then you can enjoy your expedition. You don't have to worry about any hidden surprises at the end. So for those of you that are new to expedition cruising, it is a bit different. So I'm going to get Ian to give you a bit of an insight on what expedition cruising is about and why you should experience the Kimberley by expedition ship. So over to you, Ian.
Thank you. Well, I guess the biggest difference with expedition ships and expeditions is that we interact with the landscape, but in a very sensitive way. And as you can see in that image there, we get to go ashore in lots of different places. Wherever possible, we interact with the local Indigenous people. And there you can see a couple of ladies who were once little girls in my class, now senior traditional owners in those communities. And I often interview them and get them to talk about their childhood, the education systems that they grew up in with the old missionaries and so forth, and then today's communities and how these people still interact with their land and the creatures and landscape itself. So it is a way where our guests can learn firsthand how Indigenous people relate to their country and ask them questions they've always wanted to ask them, but they've never really met an Indigenous remote bush person before. So it does give us great opportunities to do things that you couldn't do any other way. And you certainly couldn't do it on a ship cruise, because they don't come near the land. So this is very interactive, socially and environmentally.
Right. Good answer, Ian. Thank you. So our 3 Australian flagged expedition ships, they are designed basically for subtropical climates. They all feature wraparound decks and private balconies on some of our staterooms. Lots of outdoor dining and alfresco areas, so you can enjoy all those famous Kimberley sunsets. I've never seen so many amazing sunsets in my life. But the shallow drafts and high movability of our purpose-designed expedition ships, it's letting us get you closer to explore all those sheltered bays and hidden inlets inaccessible to the larger ships, like Ian mentioned. Now, as I said, we've got 3 ships in our fleet. So this one is Coral Discoverer. Coral Discoverer is our yacht-like vessel. So she has 36 staterooms with a maximum of 72 passengers, is loved by loyal regulars because you get that nice intimate feel and smaller numbers on this ship. She is now 15 years old, but has undergone multiple refurbishments, including right now. She's in the dock at Cairns, but all rooms are outward facing on all of our vessels, and they all can be set up with twin or junior king beds. And we do have the option for sole use as well across all 3 of our ships. Now, this one is Coral Adventurer. So Coral Adventurer started operating in 2019, has 60 staterooms with a maximum of 120 passengers, so a bit bigger than the Discoverer. Very familiar design, as you'll see across all 3 of our ships. Again, they're all built for expedition cruising. And lots of outdoor areas on this one as well. All the rooms, again, outward facing. And then this is Coral Geographer, which looks very similar to Coral Adventurer. This ship was delivered to us in Cairns in March 2021. So therefore, our newest ship to the fleet also has 60 staterooms with a maximum of 120 passengers. So the sister ship to the Adventurer. And again, on this one, same thing. All of our rooms are outward facing, so you never miss out on all those beautiful views. And again, rooms can be set up for twin share, and we do have the option for solo travellers as well. On our 2 larger ships, there is a gym, and we do have an internal lift as well. However, just keep in mind with the lift, you still need to be able to use the stairs and have reasonable level of mobility, just in case there's an event of an emergency. You need to be able to get up and down those stairs. And then we've got our Explorers. So we like to call these the Safari Jeeps of the Sea. They're really cool, and this is a big key thing for our Kimberley trips. We'd be lost without them. So they are purpose built for our ships, and they're actually loaded on the back of the ship via a hydraulic platform, which you can see in the image on it should be on your bottom right there. So basically, these are our shore excursion vessels. They're loaded onto a platform. You can just go straight out of the dining room, walk across a ramp like you can see in the image above, the top right, and you just take 2 steps, you'll be onto the Explorer vessels. Go and find yourself a comfortable seat on board, and then you'll be lowered down to the water and you're off on your shore excursion in under 5 minutes. It's really incredible. But there is enough seats for the ship's capacity, full capacity. So on our Coral Discoverer, our smaller ship, we have 1 Explorer, and then on our larger ships we have 2. So everybody goes at once, no one's left behind. And then on board as well, we've got full audio system. So our guest lecturers like Ian and our other expedition team, they'll be on board with you on the shore excursions, and they'll be giving commentary along the way. So you'll never miss out on anything they have to say, whether you're sitting at the front or the back. You'll get that clear commentary, and then you get a fantastic view as well. So it's all open sides. And we do have clears that will come down the sides in case you do run into some bad weather, and you'll still get a great view along the way. But the most important thing is there's a roof over the top as well. So especially when you're visiting the Kimberley, it can get quite warm. So instead of being out in the hot sun for hours on end, you've got that protection over the top. And then there is as well a toilet on board for remote convenience. Some of the shore excursions you are out and about for a few hours at a time. So you just got that peace of mind and have the comfortability of being on the Explorers. And at the front of the Explorers, like you can see in the top left there, there is another ramp. So that will just come straight out, and you'll come across some wet and dry landings in the Kimberley. Again, very easy to get on and off. It's just a few steps. The team will be there to help you get on and off as well. And on our shore excursions, we do recommend that you take some footwear that you don't mind getting wet. A lot of the time, you've got those beachy, soft landings. So if you do need to take your footwear off, that's fine. If you need to just get changed on the sand, that's fine. We won't be rushing off. So whatever you feel comfortable in, but if it is something that's easy for you, you can get wet or dry, that's probably the best option for you. Tevas or your reef sandals, anything like that. And then we've got our Zodiacs as well. So the Zodiacs we do use on our shore excursions in hand with our Explorers. So they're just providing another exciting and flexible option for shore excursions, and they can navigate narrow inlets and waterways as well. So also a great way to get close to nature, as you can see in this image here. We will use the Zodiacs where possible. And as I said, we'll always use them with the Explorer vessels. So usually you'll just transfer from the Explorer into the Zodiac and just gives you another closer look at the wildlife. If you don't want to get into the Zodiacs, you don't have to. You can stay on board the Explorers and still get a fantastic view. But in these images, you can basically picture what it would be like. You get some pretty incredible wildlife opportunities, which Ian's going to go into later. But basically, it's getting you up and close to nature. This image on the left was at Horizontal Falls, and then you've got on the right there at Lassopeed Islands with all the brown boobies. And I'm sure Ian's going to tell us all about that too shortly. So Coral Expeditions, we were one of the first cruise operators to employ interpretive guides on our cruises, and it is still a tradition that we continue today. It's one of the best traditions that we have, and we get people like Ian Morris, which is amazing. So each trip will include a mix of our full-time guest lecturers who join the expedition team, and then we get our special guest lecturers who are chosen for their specific knowledge depending on the regions that we're visiting. But they're on board and they immerse you on the unique wildlife and the environments that we're visiting. And again, this is really what expedition cruising is all about. Now, these images you'll be able to see on the screen, I think really sum up what Coral Expeditions is about. And I would love you, Ian, to share this beautiful story about these images. So I'll pass back over to you.
Okay, well, the one on the left, there's a little Yolngu boy. Yolngu are what the Indigenous people of Arnhem Land call themselves. So that's a little Yolngu boy. And he's part of a family that looked after me when I was his age. Growing up, I grew up in Aboriginal communities, so I started paying them back by taking their kids one or two at a time on Coral Expeditions, and the guests absolutely loved them, boys and girls. And one of them, the little fellow with the binoculars there, he's now in the right-hand picture, age 25. He's a guest lecturer with us, started when he was 4. So it's amazing where life takes you. And so that really richens up our experience because people like Goima, his name is Goima, Gundara, and he's able to really express a Yolngu perspective wherever we go along that northern coastline. And it's something you won't get any other way anywhere else in Australia. It's amazing.
Great. Thanks, Ian. Goima's he's natural at the nut bush. You might have seen some videos of him on our social media. He's a great dancer, isn't he, Ian? All right, and I'm sure you can recognise this guy on the screen as well. Got a double image of you there, Ian. So the guest lecturers, they work hand in hand with our expedition leaders, but they're there to take you every step of the way. So basically, we aim to run 2 shore excursions daily where possible, and these are led by our expedition team. So therefore, we're not handing you over to third-party operators. We're there with you the whole way. So on our Kimberley excursions, there is not a great deal of walking. So the most you'll walk is probably about 2 kilometres. The walking will be on uneven ground. So therefore, I would recommend to bring walking poles, especially when you're going to the Indigenous art galleries. So there's a lot of uneven rocks and things like that. So it just gives you a bit more stability. And if you're not up for any of the walking, there's always an alternative option. So you could do a coastal cruise and stay on the Explorer and do some wildlife spotting, or you could just do a nice easy beach comb and look for different things on the beach. There's always some sort of turtle tracks, or you might even see crocodile tracks as well. So yeah, that'll keep you entertained, and someone will stay with you as well if you don't feel up for doing the walk. But whatever the shore excursion is, there's always basically something for everybody. Okay. All right, now I'm going to play another short video of one of our longest serving expedition leaders, Jamie Anderson. So Jamie has been with the company for over 20 years now and is another true Kimberley pioneer, just like Ian himself. So Jamie's one of our most experienced team members alongside Ian and a few others. If you have travelled with us before, you probably recognise Jamie's face. But today we are lucky enough to get Ian's highlights. However, I'd just like to share Jamie's insights as well on the Kimberley from his years as an expedition leader.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jamie, your expedition leader, giving you the final call. You'll need hat, sunscreen, water, as it will be warm. Optional footwear, folks. Thank you. I'm James Anderson, mostly called Jamie. and I've been in this role for around 17 years with the company. Back in 2002, I was teaching, and I was asked by a friend of mine if I was interested in doing a job. I was fed up with teaching, and so I said, I'll give it a go. He put me on the Kimberley run for the first time. People travelling the Kimberley will see a massive diversification of not only animals and plants, but also the rock systems. Geology is huge in the Kimberley due to its age. It is the most remote wilderness area left in Australia, really, and luckily it's still like that. It's not overrun yet. More and more vessels are coming in, but at the same time, when it comes down to it, there's still plenty of places you can go without seeing anybody. The remoteness makes it one of the most magnificent trips around. You can't get bored anywhere that we go. Everything's new. The weather changes, the light changes. You've also got the marine side of things. These are with the whales and dolphin. Also going up into river systems that nobody else goes into. It is the most unique reef in the world. It comes out of water, exposes itself twice a day, and it depends on the tidal level as to how much of the reef is exposed. So what we've seen on our cruise this particular trip has been just extraordinary. The Indigenous populations, there are three different groups that we go through. We go through the Wunnabal Gambera people, we go through the Warra country, and we go through the Bardi country. They departed basically in 1942, and so we're lucky to go through those particular different areas, and it's nice if we can see them along the way. I think you always miss home, especially as you get a little bit older, but when it comes down to it, you get enough time off at home and then go back onto the sea. I'm lucky I live in the country and I have 3 weeks at sea, so I have the best of both worlds. The Hunter River is small. It's only about 36 kilometres in length. If anybody's thinking of being an expedition leader, to me, they need a great passion. They need to have a knowledge of the area they're going into. Not a Google knowledge. They need to be able to answer as many questions as possible. And they certainly need to be able to manage people properly. You have to keep a smile on your face. I'm in the age group of most of the guests, so I talk to them, not down at them. I talk with them. I enjoy their conversation, and that's probably the best way I can go through it. I'll go until I drop dead. It may not be all that long away, but I'll go as long as I possibly can.
Okay. So now, Ian, we've heard from Jamie, but I'm going to pass the mic over to you again. So, Ian, I know this is going to be a very challenging task for you, but if you can pick just one highlight from your years working with coral expeditions in the Kimberley, what would it be?
Well, there's hundreds of them, and every trip there are highlights. So that's a hard one, Gabby, but I put this little bird image up today. It's a beautiful little thing called a black grass wren, and it's probably the least known, least seen bird species in the Kimberley. The Kimberley itself has many rare birds and animals and plants and marine creatures. It's an amazing place to go to, and you always see things you don't expect. But one day, Jamie Anderson, the expedition leader you saw a minute ago, he and I worked together a lot, and one evening he was doing a summary of the day, and then he said, now tomorrow we're going to be doing this and this and this, and Ian's going to show anybody that's interested the black grass wren. Well, I'd seen about 4 black grass wrens in my life at that point, and I did happen to mistakenly say to him, way over there on that hill a few years ago, I saw a black grass wren. So he put me in the next morning. Now Ian's going to take people to see the oh no, rarest bird in the Kimberley. Well, all these great birdos came with me at 6:30 in the morning, and we took an explorer across to the mainland, and then off we went. And I thought, what am I going to do? I've only seen a few of these in my life, and so I took a kilometre walk up into the sandstone to an area where I had seen one once before, and I said, now, it was here a couple of years ago that I actually saw one, and they've got a very piercing voice, and there it is. There's the piercing voice. And I had a phone in my pocket, so I pulled up the grass wren's voice, which a mate of mine recorded years ago, and I played it. And it was this bird here on your screen, and it hopped up about a kilometre, flew, hop, till it was in front of us. And all these birdos that were with me, guests who had long telephoto lenses and everything, they all got perfect portraits of the Kimberley's rarest birds. And I was probably the most astounded person that morning because this bird came right up to us. So there you go. Every trip, there are highlights, and we see all sorts of rare and unknown species as we travel around in the Kimberley. So that's the beauty of having those wonderful explorers getting us right in close to the wildlife. So there's probably one of my highlights.
That's a great one. It's a fantastic image there too, isn't it? You got a great shot.
Oh, he just posed and he stayed with us for 20 minutes.
Amazing. I bet Jamie couldn't believe it either when he went back and told him.
He was jealous.
Thanks, Ian. Oh, it's always good to get your stories and the adventures of your time in the Kimberley and everywhere else you've been. But I'm sure the guests feel the same as well. And as I said, we encourage that on-board open interaction. So a lot of people were quite privileged to be able to have dinner with you and Jamie and the rest of the team, or lunch, and hear about all those stories and all your knowledge. It's fantastic. So we do offer 3 fantastic itineraries to the Kimberley region. So the Kimberley cruise, which you can see on the screen, is 10 nights, and it departs Darwin or Broome and covers the main icons of the Kimberley region, which we're about to go into shortly. So we depart April through September every year with all 3 of our vessels in the region every single year. So we cover the main highlights along the Kimberley coast. And the question that we get asked pretty regularly is, which direction should I travel? It honestly does not matter. So whichever way you go, you're going to start with a highlight or you'll finish with a highlight. So we do most of our steaming at night time, so you get to spend more of your valuable time enjoying each destination. And once you're actually in the Kimberley, you're surrounded by lots of islands, and the ship is moving with the winds and the tides. So you're always going to have fantastic views along the way, and you'll find you will spend very minimal time in your room. Most of the time you're out exploring, or you're sitting on one of the beautiful decks on the ship as well. Then we also have another 10-night option, a Kimberley option voyage. So this one is more of an art and culture themed itinerary. It is very similar to the 10-night Kimberley cruise. However, this itinerary is more focused on the arts and culture of the Kimberley and Tiwi Islands. So there's going to be opportunities on this cruise to visit art centres where you can purchase traditional and contemporary art directly from the source, and as well as our hand-selected guest lecturers who will be on board and share their knowledge on the cultures and the traditions of the local communities along the way. So this Kimberley itinerary really is an added bonus with getting to visit the Tiwi Islands as well as the main Kimberley icons, usually on board our Coral Discoverer ship, and departs in August and September. And then our third itinerary of our Kimberley series is our Kimberley Icons, which is 12 nights, so you get those additional nights. It does depart Darwin and Broome in September. So this itinerary is combining our classic 10-night Kimberley itinerary, but you also have a visit to the spectacular Rolly Shoals Marine Park and also Ashmore Reef. So this will give you the opportunity to do some snorkeling or diving, which is an optional extra, at some of the world's best marine parks, which are home to over 200 species of coral and almost 700 species of fish. Many of these species are not found on any other coral reef, so a pretty magical part of the world. But Ian, I'm going to hand over to you now, and we're going to run through what you can expect at each of the main highlights on Kimberley Expedition with us. And yeah, and then I might also jump in throughout as well and give you what it's like to be as a guest on board on my experience when I went in May. So we'll kick off, Ian, with King George Falls.
Well, that's a pretty classic view of the Kimberley. The Kimberley itself, we don't say the Kimberleys. It was named after the Earl of Kimberley back in the good old country, and named after him. And it is a big sandstone formation that's been uplifted hundreds of metres above its original sedimentary level. And so we're able to travel around this escarpment edge of this beautiful sandstone plateau. And here we've been up the King George River, and we've arrived at King George Falls. And we're able to see where all the runoff from the wet season goes. It actually, because it's a stone formation, hundreds and hundreds of square kilometres in catchment, trickles over at the edge of places like King George Falls and into the salt water, into the ocean. So that explorers come all the way from the ship to the foot of the falls. That's the beauty of these explorers. And we can actually enjoy the falls themselves, the fresh water coming down into the salt water. Very important place too for a lot of wildlife.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And this is also an opportunity for one of our famous Kimberley showers, as we like to call them. So this is a good example where you can transfer into one of our inflatable zodiacs if you'd like to, go under the waterfall itself and get that beautiful fresh water on you up close to the fall. Or you can just, if you're not up for having a Kimberley shower, there are showers on board the ship. You can stay on board the Explorer and just laugh at everybody getting soaking wet. But it's a great highlight amongst many. And if you're starting from Broome, you'll finish with this. And then if you're starting from Darwin, you'll start with this. So as I said before, you either start or finish with a highlight, no matter which way you go. All right, there we go. Ian, we've got Vansittart Bay.
Yes, we've got some amazing Indigenous art sites all the way along the coast on that old sandstone. And some of these art sites go way back into the mists of time. And that's a Wandjina image that lady is sitting and photographing. And you'll notice it has no mouth, but it has big sunken eyes. Those eyes are sunken because for thousands of years, Aboriginal people have been interacting with that art site and with that personality of the Wandjina and rubbing his eyes. Rubbing his eyes are a way of emotionally tying yourself to the story of the Wandjinas. So that's why the eyes look sunken. It's worn into that hard sandstone by people's fingers, rubbing his eyes and talking to him. And on the right-hand side there, we have a bit of modern history going back to World War II and along the Kimberley coast in various places. We have aircraft that have had to be put down, and that was an American C-53 aircraft that ran out of fuel during the Second World War. We often visit that site, not only to see the historic remains of the aircraft, but also the wildlife around it is quite fascinating. That's the part that really gets me interested in the wildlife.
Yeah, it was good. We got to see little native bees making beehives in the aircraft and lots of bird life around. So, yeah, it was a good spot to stretch your legs as well. All right, then we've got Mitchell Falls.
Now, this is a iconic spot on that big wedding cake, if you like, which we call the Kimberley these days. This is one of the high points. The Mitchell River starts as monsoon rain falling on the stone and then running towards the north and over the edge. And this is the start of the spectacular Mitchell Falls. And to get there, very difficult any other way, but you can get a helicopter lift from the coast. So we meet the choppers on the beaches and they will lift us up and drop us down right at Mitchell Falls so we can have a swim, we can photograph these spectacular falls, and also from that height you get to see the whole Kimberley formation. We were told by the geomorphologists in our earlier years that the Kimberley was once an island. It wasn't continuously part of Australian mainland. It was an island for a long, long time in isolation. Then it reconnected with the Australian mainland and to make that amazing formation that we claim these days. And you can see it from the helicopters. You can actually see that formation much clearer. But yeah, a wonderful opportunity to get up there, up to the top of the plateau.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you don't need to pre-book this. You can book it once you're on board. So the team will give you a briefing once you get on the ship, tell you what day you're going to be doing it. And then, yeah, they'll also give you the price as well. It does depend on how many people would like to do it, but it's roughly about $700 per person. It is also doors off, which gives you that totally epic experience along the way. If you are thinking about doing it, I would recommend that you pack a strap for your camera or a lanyard of some sort for your phone. As I said, it is doors off, so you get quite a lot of airflow coming through, and you would hate to leave your camera in the Kimberley. So make sure you bring it home with you and you can remember all those amazing photos. All right, and Porosis Creek, Ian.
Yes, here's another one. So once this amazing amount of monsoon water, which comes, they tell us, climatically, it comes all the way from the Himalayan mountains in the northern hemisphere to fall upon us, that water runs, as I said, in places like Mitchell Falls, runs down to sea level. And then you get places like Porosis Creek here, where there's an accumulation of worn sandstone sediment, which builds up as mudflats, which then has a forest of mangrove trees on top of it. And it's ideal habitat for things like saltwater crocodiles. So we can take the explorers right into the little remote arms of this drainage system. And the crocodiles there know us and enjoy us. They enjoy us not as food, but as friends. And I've been doing this for many years, and the crocodiles individually know us, and they come and get their photos taken and enjoy our company, and they look a little bit sad when we go. So we do get a chance to go into these places otherwise inaccessible and enjoy the wildlife, the unique wildlife that's there.
Yeah, awesome. And then I always like to say at this part, pack your binoculars. I know you guys have some on board as well, but when I was there was a tiny little baby crocodile that I never would have spotted, and it was just sitting in the mangroves. So pack your binoculars, and then you often spot a few things like this along the way. King Cascade.
Here's another example of what we're talking about, a different way of doing it, but here we get a lot of water coming down into the river system, the tidal river system, and there we get the chance to run the explorers right to the foot of the falls, and again get into our swimming costumes and get this lovely monsoon water all over us and enjoy that at the front of the explorer. And again, we see a lot of unique plants and animals while we're doing that, and just every day in the Kimberley has got something different and spectacular to go and have a look at. And these explorers are just the ideal way to get there.
Yeah, there's nothing nicer than standing on the front of that explorer, getting that fresh water over you. So make sure you pack your togs. We'll have towels for you as well. As Ian mentioned, there's a lot of our crocodile friends in the Kimberley, so there's not many opportunities for swimming, but there's lots of opportunities for these Kimberley showers. All right, Careening Bay.
Yes, again, a bit more modern European history. There you see an overweight tree. Looks like it needs to go and see Jenny Craig. It's been there for a long, long time. Inscribed into the trunk, the double trunk there, is 1820, the date, 1820. And on top it says HMS Mermaid. Oh, sorry, it says it's HMC, Her Majesty's Cutter, the Mermaid, which was Philip Parker King's vessel that he circumnavigated the Australian continent in, and he got his carpenter to put their name in this massive old boab tree, which is still there today. So we can go and visit that and see a bit of modern history for the Australian. Modern in a sense, it's well over 200 years old now, but modern in terms of the white European history of Australia.
Thanks, Ian. And there's a nice little walk you can do here, isn't there? And visit the bowerbird nest, stretch the legs again.
The tree attracts us onto the mainland, but then there's all sorts of things we go and look at once we're there. And Aboriginal people have lived in that area for a long time, and they even have agriculture in a traditional way. So we go and look at all sorts of things once we see the mermaid tree.
Yeah, amazing. All right, Monty Reef.
Now here's another formation, which was part of the island of the Kimberley a long, long time ago. And this is a wonderful coral reef, a unique kind of coral reef, different to the barrier reef. And it's sitting on top of a sandstone plateau, which is just under the sea now. So it's quite a few meters of coral. It's built up to the top of our sea level. And it's only a few thousand years old because it's only about 4,000 years that the sea level rose to its current level. And so this Montgomery Reef, which is named after Philip Parker King, the explorer's doctor who was on board his vessel, the Mermaid, he named this reef after that man. And so we can go and see, as on high tide, it's completely underwater. But as the tide goes out, this great big reef, which is 400 square kilometres or more, emerges from the ocean to become the world's greatest platform reef, they call it. And so we're able, with the explorers and then the Zodiacs, we're able to get right in and see all the little creatures. It's a living organism. The whole reef is alive, made out of calcium. It's just amazing. So it's one of the spectacular highlights of the Kimberley cruise.
Thanks, Ian. Horizontal Falls.
Once again, here you've got the ocean forcing its way into these little remote river valleys and things. And as that sea level rose, they tell us between about 12,000 and about 4,000 years ago, the polar caps melted for the last time and the sea level rose right up, forced its way into these otherwise freshwater areas. So today we can jump in the rubber ducks, in the zodiacs, and we can go with the tide through these amazing gaps in what is known as the King Leopold Range. So twice a day you can have an exciting ride either in or out with the tide of these amazing gaps. And the horizontal waterfall is just the classic example of many such gaps.
Thanks, Ian. And we had all ages on our trip that did this. A lot of people, some were nervous about it. I was a little bit nervous, but I felt so safe going through there with our crew. They gave you a full safety briefing, and it was really nice that you could pick which time you wanted to go, and the team will work with you about the tides, so you can get a full adventure adrenaline rush, or you can go when the tide's not as extreme and have more of a cruise through there. So yeah, great fun though. There's Point.
It just goes on and on. If you're interested in rocks, it'll blow your mind. Kimberley will blow your mind. If you're not the least bit interested in rocks, it'll still blow your mind, because most of our guests know nothing about geology, and they keep going, oh, wow, why weren't we taught about this at school? But what we're looking at here is, again, where the old island of the Kimberley, way back in the mists of time, reconnected with mainland Australia. It caused a lot of geological upheaval. And it squashed. They were once horizontal layers of sedimentary rock, and look at them now. They're facing almost straight up. So goodness, I'm glad I wasn't there when that happened. But apparently it happened over a long period of time. But you can see the most geological formations that the world has produced there along the coastline. And here's a what we call a syncline, a massive curve of once flat rocks. Under pressure and heat as the Kimberley reconnected. And there's many such things. It just goes on and on.
Pretty incredible.
Sure is.
All right, Lassipede Islands.
Yes, on the offshore parts of the Kimberley, with areas that were once mainland Australia and are now little islands as the sea level rose around it, these are very safe places for a lot of seabirds to come ashore and breed. So we visit the Lassipede Islands, a good example. There are many others, but Lassipedes have got thousands of seabirds coming to them. There's 4 little islands forming the Lassipede group, and we're able to take the explorers right into the shallows, so we can actually see the birds sitting on their eggs, and we can hear the chicks begging food from their parents and so forth. We see turtles, we see dugongs, all sorts of other animals there as well. The turtles are often nesting on the beaches when we get there. So again, the Lassipedes is just almost too much to take in one day.
And I remember this season we saw some photos come through to us here in the office of a crocodile actually feasting on a deceased turtle on the beach, which, yeah, pretty amazing to see that. It
is unusual to get crocodiles way out in places. This is
50
kilometres off the shore of the mainland.
Yeah.
But one crocodile's been living out there for the last 12 or 18 months on its own. Its name's probably Nigel, I suspect, and it seems to be enjoying itself.
Yeah, well, it's got lots of food. I've never seen so many green sea turtles in my life. Speaking of crocodiles, I know, Ian, this is one of your favourite pictures.
Oh yes, this guy comes when he's called. He's about a 3-metre crocodile. We call him Eric. And so when we get the explorers into his tidal waterway, we can call him and he comes out and gets his photo taken. He loves swimming both ways down the sides of the boat. Everybody gets lovely wild saltwater crocodile photographs. But that's another thing about the Kimberley. The wildlife there hasn't been sort of annoyed by modern society. So they kind of like us. We go in there, we interact positively with them. And so they reappear time after time. It's a great thing to see Eric come along with his big smiley face. Crocodiles have smiley faces, you know that, and enjoy getting his photo taken by hundreds of people at once.
And I think that's a good thing about expedition cruising. Like, we're not set to a strict deadline. If there's an opportunity that comes up, we'll jump on it. And like, for instance, one of our shore excursions, we were heading back to the ship and came across a pod of dolphins. So sort of turned into an afternoon of dolphin cruising, which is amazing. And you get a lot of opportunities like that in the Kimberley.
My word, you do.
Seasons. So we have a few
Seasons.
different seasons we experience.
One of the things that I enjoy as guest lecturer, explaining to our guests, is that the way in which Indigenous people all the way along the North Australian coastline, and particularly in the Kimberley, the way these people interact seasonally. They have these calendars in their brains. They don't need iPhones or any modern digital technology. They know what's coming next. And of course, the plants and the animals are all attuned to the seasons. So Aboriginal people, who were the kind of the custodians and caretakers of the landscape, they knew how to be in the right place at the right time. And as the seasons change, the wildlife dynamics change, and Aboriginal people are one step ahead of everything in their thinking and understanding. So on our Kimberley cruises, we try and explain these seasonal changes and how they work. And there are many things that tell us what's coming next, which I've learnt from the Indigenous people, particularly the Yolngu people of Arnhem Land. They're always one jump ahead of nature. You've got to know that to be in the right place at the right time, to harvest the native foods that they depended upon for thousands of years without upsetting those natural ecosystems. They're very good at that too. So seasons are all important, and Kimberley's just a great place to see it in action.
Perfect. Thanks, Ian. And then for us people that use iPhones, what time of the year, calendar year, can we expect to sort of see the dry season or the waterfall season and the whales?
Yes, well, of course, us being sort of modern humans, we've got to get everything right for our trips. And Coral run these expeditions along the coastline in the dry season. So as soon as the wet season stops, which is usually the end of March, early April, that's when our cruises over to the Kimberley start and our expeditions along the coastline start. And so we then go through with the seasons. We just say dry season between March and November as white people. Aboriginal people, no, there's many different seasons, one after another over that period. So again, it doesn't matter what time of year you book a cruise through the Kimberley. There's always something interesting going on. Some season has just finished, another one's about to start, and one's in action. So we're able to capitalise on that and explain it and show you the results of those strong seasons.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. All right. So I hope everybody enjoyed Ian's insights and highlights to what you can expect travelling to the Kimberley Coral Expeditions and getting to experience it with the experts the Australian way. But we're now coming towards the end of our webinar, so it's a good opportunity to ask any questions that you might have in the chat section, and Ian and myself will answer them shortly. If you did join in with us late today, that's fine. You will receive a recorded version for everyone that registered today. In the next few days, we'll send that out to you and you can rewatch anything that you missed. But to give you a chance to ask those questions, I'll play this video and then we'll get to them shortly. All right. So as I said, we'll try and get to everybody's questions now. However, if we don't happen to get to your question, you can find our reservations contact details on the screen, who would be happy to answer anything that we haven't covered today if you think of something later. Or you can reach out to your preferred travel agent as well. They have all the answers too, or they can reach out to our reservations team. And again, if you joined in late, that's fine. We'll send a recorded version to you in the next few days and you can rewatch anything or share that link with friends and family as well. All right. So, Ian, we did cover footwear, but is there anything else that you'd recommend for people to take on their shore excursions with them?
Well, I think, as you said, I think the camera is the most important thing because you never know what you're going to see. And footwear, it's up to you. I'm pretty well always barefoot in the Kimberley. It is quite foot-friendly, and Aboriginal people have been doing it for 65,000 years. But for us modern humans, good strong footwear is fine because, as we said, it's sandstone country, so we're often walking along ledges and pebbly beaches and things like that. So yeah, whatever suits you for that sort of climb is fine, as far as I'm concerned. A hat's good for many reasons. And that's really all you need. We always carry water, and we supply water bottles and things. So it's always good to have water with us. And our expedition leader will always make sure you're aware of anything you need on a particular expedition. So yeah, you should be pretty right.
Yeah, they always do a briefing the night before as well, and then that's a good opportunity to ask any questions that you have, and yeah, find out a bit of a game plan for the next day as well. So swimming in the Kimberley. So we briefly covered on that, Ian, but yeah, do you want to just talk a little bit about if there'd be any swimming opportunities?
Well, we take whatever opportunities are available. Generally, we swim in places above sea level. Not always. We can swim in some fairly safe places at sea level sometimes, depending on tides and the length of the trips and so forth. But otherwise, we swim up above waterfalls and pools, in pools, where saltwater crocodiles have no interest. So they're nice, safe places for us to swim. Not that saltwater crocodiles really want to eat people normally, but it just makes it much more safe for us. And we do get freshwater crocodiles in the Kimberley as well, but they're quite shy creatures that keep away while you're swimming in their waterholes generally, and don't reappear till you've gone. So the Kimberley, in essence, is quite a safe place, I think. And we enjoy, when we're in the saltwater, we enjoy seeing the saltwater crocodiles living there and learning about them. So to me, it's all good.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And then we just had a couple of questions that I can probably manage these ones, Ian, but it's about, so Ian did mention that you get a drink bottle on there. So yes, we do have water refill stations on board the ship, and you'll have a nice personalised drink bottle in your room when you arrive. So take that with you on the shore excursions. There's also snacks as well you can grab on the way out to your shore excursions, which are all included, and they'll keep you tied over until you get back to the ship for lunch. And then towels. You don't need to bring towels. We do have them for when you are, as Ian mentioned, you might have a swimming opportunity or do one of those Kimberley showers out under a waterfall. So we'll take the towels out with us, and that's one less thing for you to worry about. And then someone's just asked about dietary. So yes, we can cater for any dietary needs. Just make sure when you're booking with your travel agent or our reservations team that you let them know of any dietary concerns that you have, and we'll definitely cater for you for that. But that's all the questions. We've got a quiet group today, Ian. So thanks to everyone that has taken the time to listen today. But if you are considering booking, please reach out to our reservations team. The details are on the screen there, or please contact your preferred travel agent for pricing and availability. They can help you with that too. But if you have already booked as well, you are about to have the trip of a lifetime. There's really nothing truly spectacular as the Kimberley. It's been about 6 months since I've been there, and I wish every day that I was back in the Kimberley. It's such a beautiful, amazing place. There's no better way basically to experience it, I think, than with Coral Expeditions. We have been visiting the Kimberley for 30 years, so we're definitely going to provide you with the ultimate Kimberley experience the Australian way, with some amazing knowledgeable guides like Ian that are going to tell you all about the Indigenous history as well, and some amazing stories. So you might even get extra lucky, hopefully, to get Ian on your voyage, or Jamie. But thanks again, Ian, sharing all your insights and your highlights on your many years experience. It's always a real privilege to have you on board and tell us all your knowledge. So thanks as well to everybody for taking the time out of your day. I know it is an hour. Ian and I do like to talk, and we can rattle on for hours about the Kimberley, but we're always here and happy to answer any questions you've got. So hopefully we see you on board one day soon. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Ian. We'll talk to you soon.